What do you do if you can't afford health insurance? Now, open enrollment is coming right up, which means a whole lot of Americans are on the search for insurance plans that won't break the bank. So in this video, I'm going to tell you how I managed to find a tenable solution to the spiraling costs of healthcare that honestly, it's not ideal. But for the last year, it has worked out pretty well for me, and how maybe it can do the same thing for you. It's no secret that the American healthcare system is a steaming pile of corporatized excrement that prioritizes profits over patient health outcomes. Ordinary, unsubsidized health plans can easily cost upwards of $1,000 a month and come with deductibles in the tens of thousands of dollars, which means a broken leg or a rattlesnake bite could set you back $25,000 even if you are insured. And if you're uninsured, that's bankruptcy. But wait, it gets worse, because Donald Trump's big beautiful bill further cuts subsidies, which could mean that ordinary Americans will see their insurance rates double in 2026. And this is an untenable situation. As a self-employed writer and YouTuber, I don't have the luxury of having an employer who will cover the costs as part of a job perk. And over the last 10 years or so, I've tried everything that I could to get my premiums under control. The last insurance policy I had through United Healthcare, boo, cost my wife and I $700 a month for what amounted to basically no coverage at all. It was hard to find a doctor in a local network, which meant that every other year I had to go on the search for a new primary care physician, often more than an hour from my home, even when I live in a major metropolitan area. I've also tried health shares, notably a Christian ministry that required me to pledge allegiance to a higher power and didn't cover any reproductive care. And frankly, it just sort of creeped me out. Then about a year ago, to the day that I'm posting this video, I signed up for a different kind of health coverage through an Austin, Texas-based company called CrowdHealth. Now, this is the very first and only company that I've ever taken on as a sponsor in more than 3 years of doing YouTube full time. In fact, this year I turned down $100,000 in sponsor offers from various people who have reached out to me. So you know how seriously I take my recommendations. I'm telling you about this now because your insurance might suddenly become quite unaffordable, and this might be an option that works for you. As I mentioned, under my old insurance plan, I would be in the hole $25,000 before I had a chance for healthcare to catch up. It was insanity. Even so, mostly when I went to the doctor for like an X-ray or an MRI or something like that, I would actually pay out of pocket because I knew I would never actually meet my deductible. And this weird phenomenon of self-paying even with insurance is actually the key to CrowdHealth's success. Because when you're with CrowdHealth, when you show up to the doctor's office or an emergency room or wherever, you don't give them your health insurance card. You tell them that you will be paying cash, and the cash price is almost always cheaper than what you get through insurance because of those perverse incentives that I was talking about earlier. I asked the CEO of CrowdHealth, Andy Schoonover, to explain.
So if I go to my doctor and I give him a credit card, his transaction fee is about 2%. If I go and I pay with insurance, his transaction fee is somewhere between 30 and 40% of what he bills goes to administrative tasks around billing health insurance.
The result is that by paying cash means you circumvent the problems Flexner inserted into the system, and market forces have a chance to play out.
And so we're getting better prices by about 50%, actually more than 50% last month, than United Healthcare, Blue Cross Blue Shield, all those guys. So just as a result of paying in cash and creating market forces in healthcare, which are non-existent right now.
Now remember, this is not insurance. It's technically a peer-to-peer funding platform, and it works like this. Every month, my wife and I pay a total of $100 for a membership that covers, well, nothing. It's just administrative costs for CrowdHealth. And then there's this additional voluntary amount that varies every month depending on the actual healthcare needs of the collective, but never above $400 in total. Last month, it was considerably lower than that, and I think I paid an additional $101. So if you're keeping track, that's a total savings of $500 that month. Future Scott here. I've actually gone to the doctor twice in the last month since I signed up for CrowdHealth. One for one weird skin infection that I had cleared up with antibiotics, and second, for something that turned out to be skin cancer, which I ultimately froze off of right there on my nose. Go get your skin checked if you've got weird bumps. But the total cost out of pocket for skin cancer and these antibiotics was $300. Amazing. And after that first $500 in costs, up to, well, actually, there's no upper limit. So if you break your leg or get hit by a bus, the first $500 comes out of pocket, and then the crowd pays the rest. Since most ordinary doctors cost a lot less than $500, you're out of pocket for most of that stuff, but you still pay less than you would with private health insurance premiums. And it is important to sit with that for a second. Insurance companies are required to keep large cash reserves on hand in order to pay for health expenses out of available funds, and CrowdHealth doesn't keep a pool of funds on hand at all. Instead, it funds the health expenses from its membership every single month, which I agree sounds sort of terrifying. In fact, John Oliver did a whole show on health share ministries, which are at least sort of spiritually related to this peer-to-peer model, where he said all of them are a terrible idea because these ministries and peer-to-peer and crowd health sharing things are not required to actually reimburse you for your medical expenses. Here he is saying exactly that.
You know that the reimbursement process can go very wrong. Participants in Liberty, the one with the heart contract, have found payments can be slow to non-existent. One thing insurance commissioners have repeatedly told us in researching this piece is how little transparency there is into how these ministries operate and just how wary they think people should be of all of them.
And I have to tell you, even though he was talking about a different health share company, that I take his warning seriously. There is in fact no legal guarantee that CrowdHealth will fund my claims, other than not funding my claims would be bad for their reputation and business overall. And that's why they put real effort into transparency. CrowdHealth shares a list of all the payouts that they make with member money, and as you can see, it's pretty substantial. They've covered many multiple million-dollar cases, from cancer to gunshot wounds, and after a little more than 3 years in business, well, they're still solvent. They actually make money from the $50 membership fee. And it's not like the best option that we could imagine. I don't think it's better than universal healthcare. In the long term, we need to completely upend how we do healthcare in America, and CrowdHealth is not going to do that on its own. I would jump ship from CrowdHealth in a second if there was a real government option along the lines of Canada or the UK, despite the many flaws with those systems, which is a topic for another video. I would also say that there is a risk that CrowdHealth turns out to be imperfect. Maybe they will go insolvent if they get hit with a series of black swan health events, and I don't know if they're carrying reinsurance or not. If that happens, I could be exposed to more risk than I would like to be. But I have to ask you, how different is that than getting insurance from a carrier like United Healthcare, which denies 30% of claims after you're already sick? The way I see it, even with their contracts and government regulations, standard private health insurance is also a risk. So I'm choosing to take this risk instead of that one. And I'd like to invite you to be a member of CrowdHealth as well. And here comes my sales pitch. If you sign up for CrowdHealth with my discount code Carney, link in description, you will get 3 months of CrowdHealth for just $99, which is a pretty good deal. And yeah, I'm getting a commission for signing you up. It's a standard deal that's on their website. You can check out the terms, and it's actually open to all members who want to do exactly what I'm doing right now. For every member I bring into the fold, I will make $250. And hey, I think that's a pretty cool bonus for expanding the size of CrowdHealth, which ultimately mitigates every member's risk when health events come due. And so that's my pitch for the very first sponsor on this show after more than 500 videos. Remember, the link to sign up is in the description and the pinned comment on this video. And if you can't find that, the code is Carney. That's C-A-R-N-E-Y. You can remember it by just channeling Austin Powers.
Carnies.
What?
Circus folk. Nomads, you know. Smell like cabbage. Small hands.
Me and my family are never going to live that one down. And that's my show for today. Thanks so much for watching this channel. Until next time, from PokeyBear LLC in Denver, Colorado, this was Scott Carney Investigates. Thank you so much for all of my supporters on Patreon and on Substack who make this work possible. The contributions you give keep this sort of independent journalism on the air, and I really just could not do it without you. If you want to get early access to my work and get your name on the honor roll right over there, please sign up at the links down below. From PokeyBear LLC in Denver, Colorado, this was Scott Carney Investigates.